So stoked.
Right. Yeah, I'm zerocounts. We're going to do some Zelda 2 today. We're going to try to do it in one credit clear, which we'll talk about what that means later on. I have my commentator here, remote commentator here, Dark Armist.
Hello.
All right, and Dark's going to help me out when I inevitably forget to tell everybody about some things. So, all right, we're going to get started here. I'll give a countdown, a 3, 2, 1, and then we'll go. All right. We all good? All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Let's go.
All right. So this is Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. It is a direct sequel to the first Zelda game on the NES. You might notice, though, that it's a lot different from that one. Rather than having a top-down perspective, we are in more of a 2D platformer style perspective here. Another thing that we notice right off the bat is there is an overworld, which is not super common in these Zelda games. And on that overworld, we will see that we'll be seeing some enemy spawns that are going to be showing up. There'll be a couple that'll show up here. Those things. So if I run into one of those, it'll take me into a new screen, and then I'll be forced to like fight my way out of that screen. We don't want that to happen. That takes time, and we're trying to play through this game fast, right? So every single one of those screens costs you about 6 to 7 seconds, and that's not if you get hit by enemies while you're in there. So yeah, and there's ways to kind of avoid those, and we'll kind of get into that later with frame counts and things like that. We have to make our way to the first palace, which is not in these dark caves. And why are we going in these dark caves? That's because we are attempting to get all of the items and all of the everything in this game, because we are doing the 100% category. So when we get to the other side of this cave, we're going to get to a desert, and I'm going to try to manipulate the spawns to cause us to skip a forced encounter tile. So the overworld has these tiles on it that force you into an encounter even if there's not a monster there. We'll see if I get this to work. All right, we got it. Yeah, that's the bubble skip. So that tile that I ran into the monster on actually contains a place that's kind of like this right here, where you need to jump over some chasms, and we'll see it because we have to backtrack. So this is what actually happens when you step on there. It takes you here. And this screen is like super scary because these bubbles will knock you back, and if you fall in the water, you die. So we don't want that to happen. So skipping it is really great because you can see it takes a long time. So what the game does for skipping those encounter tiles is it prioritizes running into the monsters rather than running into whatever is in the environment. So and the monster tiles, if you run into them on like a road tile, you don't actually fight monsters on them, and it takes like 2 to 3 seconds to get off the screen. So it's a lot faster.
Welcome home.
Yes, this is the first palace. This is Dark's favorite place. You know, we spend a lot of time in Palace 1 because Palace 1 is honestly one of the hardest palaces in this game. There's no dungeons in Zelda 2. They're all palaces. So something else that you might notice that's a little different about Zelda 2 compared to most Zelda games is up at the top of the screen you see an attack level, a magic level, and a life level, as well as a experience points counter. Yeah, there's experience points in Zelda 2. It's totally an RPG. And the experience routing is super important in this run. It's probably the most important thing in this category. We want to prioritize getting attack levels whenever we can.
Attack 9.
Yeah, attack 9. What we want to do is at the end of every palace, you have to place a crystal on a statue at the end of the palace. And what happens when you place that crystal is it will fill up your experience points all the way up to whatever the next level is. So if you look up in the top right, it says 156 out of 200. If I were to place the crystal right now, it would fill my experience up to 200. And what we want to do is we want to get the most experience that we can when we place that crystal. So at the end of this dungeon, thanks, bot. At the end of this dungeon, we want to place the crystal and get 1,000 experience points, which will give us attack level 4. Another thing that we have to do to get that, however, is to not miss level and make sure you get attack 2 there. But also, we need to make sure we get a P-bag drop, a 200 P-bag drop from one of the large enemies here. So there's 2 different categories of enemies in Zelda 2. There's actually 3, but we're just going to worry about the 2. There's small enemies and large enemies. And for every 6th enemy you defeat in those individual groups, I'm going to get the Shame Fairy.
Shame.
For every 6 enemies you defeat in those groups, it drops either a magic jar or a P-bag, which contains experience points.
Bots are giving you lots of hugs.
They are. They're being very friendly. So on the 6th large enemy that we kill, we have a 50% chance of it dropping a 200-point experience bag. So we're going to try and make it so that we get a 200-point experience bag, because we need one to get attack 4 by the end of this palace. If we don't get one, we will have to continue the run at attack 3, which is doable, but a lot more difficult. So theoretically, we have a 75% chance, because we're going to have 2 opportunities to get a 200-point P-bag. So theoretically, there's like a 75% chance that we will get one. But if you run this game as much as I have, you would think that that's not actually the percentage chance of getting one.
I've only run Horsehead, so I run this dungeon and this dungeon alone.
It's brutal. So we have enough experience points now, assuming we get the 200-point P-bag. We'll see if that happens. I'm going to let these bots do whatever they're doing. All right, we're coming up to the large enemy. We're going to kill the Stalfos on the top, or at the top of this elevator, and hopefully they drop a 200-point P-bag. All right, we got red jarred, so we have one more opportunity. Wow, that guy's really mad.
Really, really excited to see you.
Down here, we're going to fight one of everybody's favorite enemies in this game, the Iron Knuckles. The Iron Knuckles are honestly, when you're playing this game casually, it takes a long time to figure out how to defeat them, until you find out that the hole that they have in their visor is their weak point, and if you just stab them there, they're pretty easy to take down. All right, here we go. We'll see if we get another P-bag here. No, we got double jarred. All right, we're doing attack 3. Let's do it. All right, here we go. This is Mazura, also known as Horsehead. Mazura will give us 50 experience points when we defeat him. Takes a couple extra hits since we're at attack 3. Or 2 right now, excuse me.
I thought you did that really fast.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. Attack 2, Horsehead. All right, so it will fill us up to 500 experience. We will take our attack 3, and we'll be happy with it. Meanwhile, I'm quietly cursing to myself. No, it's fine. All right.
So Zero, what does it mean for 1cc, and what are the importance of lives?
So 100%, the 100% category requires us to get all items, all magic spells, all health and magic upgrades, and all of the keys as well. That's spelled out right in the categories, the all keys category. There's 31 keys that we have to get among all of the palaces. And yeah, we have to get every single one, even if we don't need every single one. we still have to get them. And so, speaking of magic, we're coming to this town here to get our first magic spell, which is the jump spell.
Is this the first spell available to you?
This is not the first spell available to me. We can get the shield spell earlier than this, but we decide not to. We can talk about specifics on that later. But yeah, we're gonna get the jump spell here. In order to get the spells, you typically have to find like an item, and then give it to somebody to gain access to the room, where these wizards here will give you or grant you access to a spell. In order to cast the spells, you have to enter your menu and select the spell, and then the next time you hit the select button, it'll cast that spell. You always have to reselect the magic, so you can't just cast spells multiple times in a row. You have to go back into the menu and reselect it, and then cast it with the select button. So this is Jump Cave.
Casually.
Yeah. This is Jump Cave. I'm going to get hit by some Octoroks. But it's okay, because we're going to level up life here after we defeat this Gorilla. Or what do you call them, Dark?
Old boomerang dogs.
Yes.
That's red old boomerang dog.
Yes, indeed. They have nice mustaches.
Best enemy in the game.
So we're going to cast our first spell in a bit here. Once we get past this old boomerang dog. So we'll queue up jump. I'll cast jump. Stab this ache in the head. Get past this Aikman.
You're just liking the hugs today, though.
Yeah, there's lots of enemies coming at me. They know it's a marathon. Look at that. That was pretty good. That was totally intentional, right? So you'll also see there's new overworld tiles right now. Oh, we got the Bagu skip. Oh my god, I might die here. No, we're still alive. Okay, it's fine.
The one time we don't want to skip a forced encounter would be right now.
Yeah. This is Bagu. We have to meet Bagu to gain access to the bridge in this next town. I'm going to focus here.
So the cool thing about Bagu in his text is you saw that Zero literally talked to him and then immediately closed. To meet Bagu, the requirements are only that you literally open the text box with him, and then you can close it and then go, and the guy will be like, you know Bagu, and you can just move forward.
Yes, it's very important to know Bagu's life story, so that's why we pay very close attention to everything that Bagu knows. We totally don't just skip all of his dialogue. So we survived, so that's great. I was a little scared there for a second.
Maybe we go for an extra life that we normally wouldn't go for this run.
Oh, no, of course, there's no safeties. No safeties in this run. So we're getting the second spell here, and thank goodness we're getting it too, because this is where we get the life spell, so we can actually heal ourselves. This is one of the best spells in the game. Gets you out of a lot of tight corners, like this one. We're going to queue that up right away too. So when you get spells, you actually are given the opportunity to menu, because it'll show you what spell you got. So you can kind of use that opportunity to save time. And this will actually give me an opportunity to show off that you can heal in towns as well. So there's usually a place where you can heal your magic, which we're going to do right here. And then cast magic right away. Or cast life right away. And then here's that bridge keeper that Dark was talking about earlier. We actually have to listen to the bridge keeper. We can't skip their dialogue.
So when you opened your spell menu, it looked like spells had a certain cost to them. Does that change throughout the game?
It does. It changes depending on what your magic level is. And I wish I could explain exactly what it is that determines all that. But yeah, it has to do with your max magic, and also what level your magic is at. But normally we just kind of pay attention to how many bars of magic does it take to cast certain things, which we'll talk about in certain areas where you need certain bars of magic. But this is Death Mountain. We're here because we want to find the hammer, which will give us the ability to break boulders on the overworld. There's some pretty scary enemies here, mainly the Dairas. The Dairas have axes that they like toss in your face, and they're really scary and do a lot of damage. The orange Dairas don't actually throw their axes, but the red ones do. So here's an orange Daira.
But they're dinosaurs. So.
Yeah, the dinosaurs. But we're gonna make our way to the hammer. It takes a little while to get there, so this is probably a good time for some announcements if the host has any.
Definitely. Now, I don't know about that 200p bag from earlier, but I do know that we have a $200 donation from CellZ with the message, "Incoming Gaming Buddy."
Yo,
go ZC.
Yo, Cell, thank you very much for that awesome donation.
So awesome shout out to zerocounts here and an awesome donation to the Protez Foundation. Thank you very much.
No.
All right, so those are the red Dairas that we were talking about. They throw axes, and that did a lot of damage.
You see us flirting here a little bit with these Dairas. Old Boomerang Dog, is he going for you? Ooh.
You know, I like to live on the edge. You gonna get killed by an ache here? Okay, we're good through here. So normally we want to get a P-bag drop from this Daira, but I would go for a magic drop right now. That would be fine. Hey, look at that P-bag. This game loves me. We're dead. Okay, that's fine.
No.
You know, so
There
this
it
is a
is.
good time to talk about how when you die, you actually get full magic and full life back. We're going to use that to our advantage later. I mean, you could argue that we used it to our advantage right now.
You also used it to go backwards.
Yeah, that sends you back to the beginning of the room that you're in. And you know what? This is also a good time to talk about what the 1cc portion of the run means. So the 1cc actually means 1 credit clear. And what that means in terms of like this game is that we can't get a game over. So that means we can't lose all of our lives and start back over. If it does that, it sends us back to the to a save screen, and then we get sent back to the start of the game. It'll keep our progress, but it won't like allow us to like it'll erase all our experience, and then we have to get back to wherever we died, and it's just, you know, it's like the original Dark Souls, you know.
So another thing that 1cc stops is in some categories is death warping specifically also.
Yes. So it actually does pay to like if you were allowed to game over in this category. I'm gonna give myself some space with this guy. Okay, we have attack 3 now, or attack 4 now, which really helps. All right.
So other categories could death warp to get past certain areas and get back to certain areas faster. But because 1cc doesn't allow that, we have to be a little bit more inventive where we choose to death warp and for what reasons, because it's a very limited.
Yep, that's exactly right. Like, yeah, there are certain times where it would be beneficial to go back to the beginning, but yeah, we don't want to. We're not allowed to do that in this one. And honestly, like, we want so much experience points that if we were to get like a game over and have to reset back, like, it's hard to reset your experience to where you want it. So in some ways it benefits the run, in other ways it doesn't. All right, so now that we have the hammer, we can actually break the boulder on the overworld that we saw before we came in here. It's just right outside this this cave.
So the hammer is the equivalent to Zelda's and every other Zelda game's bombs.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. And this is what, the only Zelda game where you don't get a bomb.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I haven't played the DS ones to verify those 100%, but I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, yep, you get bombs in the DS games. Yep. So there we go. We broke that boulder, and we came down here to grab this magic potion.
Nice wall hit there.
Yep. Yeah,
Bonus points.
save you a couple frames. All right, I'm gonna wait for a little music cue here, and hopefully, you know, there's a little bit of RNG involved there. So what I was doing, I was waiting for a music cue to move forward into the overworld spaces there, so that I could kind of slink past the enemies. There's ways of like manipulating what spawns you're going to be getting, and we're going to try doing that after this bridge up here. Before the next cave.
Running thing.
Yeah. I'm also going to show off something here. Jumping over that enemy right there, you may have noticed that when I went into the air, he kind of stopped in place. The enemies in this game kind of cheat a little bit, and what I mean by that is they're always reading your D-pad inputs. So if you're like holding the D-pad towards the enemy, and then you try jumping over them and you keep holding the D-pad, they'll move backwards with you. So in order to like jump over enemies in this game, you need to let go of the D-pad in midair and use Link's momentum to sort of sail over the enemies.
When people say the joke is Z2 cheats, it really does.
It does, yeah. I mean, they shouldn't know what I'm doing, right? It's like they're screen peeking. Yeah, this game, you know, it doesn't want to show this off. No, you know what? I'm going to try it again. Here, let's see if we can do it again. All right.
So, it looks like you found a doll of
There
yourself.
it is. So before I talk about the dolls, what I did right there is I got a road encounter tile so that we would get a forced double spawn right there, so that we can get a free walk into this cave and not have to run into a bunch of spawns. But yes, we picked up a doll. That's a 1-up. They are kind of hidden around the overworld in different places. We're actually going to pick up another one after this cave. Another thing I want to point out is you may have noticed I didn't really try killing anything on that previous screen. This is because there is a sprite limit on some of the on some of the screens in this game, and so when you're going through a really long screen with a lot of little enemies in it, sometimes it pays to not kill them because, especially in places where they're gonna spawn like these fish at you, because it's gonna spawn fewer fish at you if there's more enemies left on the screen. See, there's no fish spawning right now.
No cheeps.
Yep. There's another little doll of myself.
Sometimes you just need to make action figures of yourself.
Of course. It was more difficult to do that back then, you know? Didn't have the technology. All right, hope and get a back spawn? Nah, that's alright. What's another road encounter? Alright, so we are heading to the next town here.
So when you try to get encounters with enemies, you're trying to get them on specific tiles other than forced encounters also, correct?
Right, so you want to try and get them on road tiles if you can. And also, like, when the enemies, when the spawns appear, it pays to be on a plains tile or like a grass tile rather than a forest tile, because if the enemy spawns show up on a forest tile, they're always going to be like closer to Link, and then they're obviously more difficult to dodge. Whereas if you run into enemies on like a grass tile, they spawn like further away. So we just picked up the first sword technique that Link gets. He knows how to hold his sword downwards, which is something he
Difficult.
apparently didn't know how to do before he went and talked to that knight. So down stab becomes really helpful because it hits everything underneath it. And there's some cool tricks that we can do with it later to defeat certain enemies.
Bloop, bloop, bloop.
We'll have to get some bloops in here.
So as sad as it is, though, that Link has to be told how to hold his sword down, there's a sword technique later that's even more sad, that he has to be told to hold his sword up.
Yes. Up stab. And they literally tell you, like, you know, hold up to up stab or something. Like, it's like, yeah. Something I want to point out as we're heading to the next palace here is I've been avoiding taking levels on magic and life, which kind of seems counterintuitive because I died. So maybe I wouldn't have died if I would have healed myself or gotten more life. But the reason why we're doing that is because by the end of Palace 2, we want to be at attack 6. So we want to place that crystal and then get attack 6 at the end of the palace. And in order to do that, we need a lot of experience points. So we are kind of taking every opportunity to put those experience towards our next attack levels. Thankfully, there's a lot of experience to be had in Palace 2 on our way over there, so we should be okay. But that's the reason behind all that. Yeah. Oh, 2 back spawns. Hey, look, the game feels bad for me.
Back there, you seem to pick up a heart piece when you used a spell. Was there a reason for that?
Right. So we picked up the heart piece as a fairy, and actually we used magic to do that. So it cost us something, but what it saved us is time, because when Link picks up an item, he has a fanfare animation where he just holds it above his head and he's like, "Look at what I found." But if you pick it up as the fairy doesn't give 2 hoots about what you find, and you just kind of keep flying around. So it saves you a couple seconds to pick things up as fairy, and you end up getting a magic jar at the very beginning of Palace 2. So it doesn't matter. You're gonna get your magic back anyway. All right, this enemy right here is called a Gooma. I want you to write that down at home. I want you to remember that.
So Gooma is spelled Chewey.
Yeah, Chewy.
Gooma.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so remember that those are called Goomas, and just write that down at home. And that'll come back later. We'll have a little quiz.
I'm learning with you guys.
Right. So the objective in this palace is just get a lot of experience. Since we did have an attack 3 run, we're going to defeat a lot of enemies and hopefully get a lot of experience points. But it's a pretty long palace, so this is probably a really good time for any more announcements if the host has any.
We sure do. We have a donation from Cubs Rule 21 of $167. 7 Triforce pieces, 3 ice traps, 17 deaths, and an amazing evening. Thank you again, everyone, and here's to a great rest of the marathon.
That's awesome.
What a rough run that crowd control randomizer is.
Are they ever not rough? Yeah, big thanks to everybody who donated during that. That was awesome. That was a lot of fun. Oh, wait, you know what? We go back for those.
Yeah, we want that.
We want that, absolutely. All right, we're coming up to a pretty scary room that I'm just gonna maul that guy for a while. So the bots in this game are super scary. They're the little slime enemies here. They can knock back Link, and just you get sent back really far, and you'll just slide across the floor and just drop into the lava. That happens way more often than I'm proud to admit. I mean, that's just how they were programmed. So we cast jump in that room so that we have more clearance, and we can have a little bit more time to react to when we're coming down.
They like to do the old-fashioned glump there, the tackle hug onto Link. Their bots are very Link happy. So the blue Stalfoses are a little bit worse than the red Stalfoses. They jump.
They jump
and do down stab. So like,
well,
they're pretty cool.
Yeah, and the thing is, we can talk about them reading our inputs again because they jump like that because they know that you're attacking. So, and the best way to attack them is to do a crouch stab on them. But then when you do a crouch stab on them, they jump over it. So it's just the game cheats, you know. There we go. All right, we just got the handy glove. The handy glove allows us to break blocks. Yep, go ahead.
The room that you were just in where the falling blocks were happening is the only time is if you come in this room and you take a long time, you can actually get soft or locked in this area.
yeah, you can, because if you don't have enough magic to jump or cast fairy or anything like that, you can just get stuck in between those blocks and not be able to defeat them. But now that we have the handy glove, we can break those blocks. Oh.
Ooh, we go back to that again. Jeez. So you talked about enemies dropping items every six enemies killed or so. Can enemies drop more often than 6 enemies, and only 6 is guaranteed?
It's only every 6. Yep. Yeah, and it's within those categories of enemies. There's also enemies that give you no experience points. Those don't drop anything ever.
Rude.
Yeah. I guess I could talk about the small enemies. So the small enemies, every 6 that you defeat, have a 1 in 8 chance of dropping a P bag that has 50 experience points, and then a 7 in 8 chance of dropping a blue magic jar, which refills, I believe, one square of magic. You know, I probably...
Shout out to Tin Suits here. Zero will give you all the real names. I'll give you all the names that make sense. So
yeah,
we got Slimes, we got Tin Suits, and Old Boomerang Dogs.
Yeah, people like to call them Tin Suits because they look a lot like the Tin Suits that are in the from the Zelda cartoon series. Shoutouts to the Zelda cartoon series. But their actual name is Wosus. They never come back in any other game. You don't need to know that. Just call them Tin Suits. It's fine.
So just a reminder, a P-bag dropped, and we didn't go back and get it because we hit the level of EXP. So we don't need that much EXP because we're going to get 3,000 for free at the end of this dungeon.
Yes. All right, this is Germa Fencer. Ooh, we're good.
He had 2 hats on.
Yeah, and the helmets that you knock off actually kind of float around and they shoot projectiles at you, but we defeat Germa Fencer before we have to worry about those. So when you place crystals on the palace, at the end of the palace, there's a fanfare that plays, and it actually gives you the opportunity to menu magic, and it doesn't cost any time. I'm also going to wait here and take this level up before I go off the screen. And there's a really important reason for that. Because if you take a level up while you're transitioning screens, and it happens on the same frame that you're transitioning on, it soft locks the game. And it's just a black screen, and it just stays there forever, and you have to reset.
You think it'd be a low % chance of happening, but it's really not.
It happens more often than you think, and that's actually a really common place for it to happen because it just matches up, and you're almost always going to get an encounter there. So, So we're coming back now to get a spell that we didn't get before that we sort of alluded to. This is where we're getting Shield Spell. And the reason we get it late is, to get it early, it actually does save time. It saves roughly 10 seconds or so. Thanks for the bloop there, Dark. It saves roughly 10 seconds to get it earlier. But the reason we get it later is because there's a possible manipulation for the overworld spawn encounters on your way from here to Palace 3, where you'll get no encounters. And if you get no encounters from here to Palace 3, it saves way more time than you would by getting the shield spell early. So we'll see if I get this.
Consistency over theoretical.
You know what? If I'm going to get a fairy spawn anywhere, that's the one that I want right there. That made that very easy. So it seems like Zero, some enemies run away from you and some chase you. Yes. Does that play into consideration? Right. So there's basically like two types of spawns that can show up on the overworld. You'll have ones that kind of home in on Link, and ones that just sort of do whatever the heck they want to do. You want the ones that, this might sound counterintuitive, but you want the ones that home in on Link, because those ones you can kind of manipulate a little bit better. You can kind of tell where they're going to go, and you know they're going to kind of come towards you. The fairies, however, we're not going to get a jar. The fairies, jar. The fairies, whenever those spawn, it's always random movement. It doesn't matter, like, when the fairies spawn or where they spawn. The movement is always random. So if you watch a Zelda 2 runner and a fairy shows up, they're always going to complain about it, because there's nothing you can do. Like, they're either going to chase after you or they're going to run away, and they're probably going to chase after you because that's what you don't want to happen. You never get one when you need it. So this is Palace 3. Palace 3 is... there's a lot of tricky rooms and enemies in here. We're actually going to see our first instance of the blue iron knuckle, which is a really scary enemy that we're going to use a downstab trick to take care of. And then there's actually like a blue iron knuckle style enemy that we'll see at the end of this palace as well, that we're also going to use a different downstab technique to deal with. So blue iron knuckles, if you're wearing blue armor, essentially you're weak to downstabs, is how that works. We can cast jump. We have the magic to do it. So we have a little bit of ways to go before we get to that blue iron knuckle. So if there's any announcements from the host, this would be a great time to do that.
Sure thing. I would just like to remind everyone watching that there is currently a bid war open for the music that we will get to hear during Helix's Sonic Frontiers run. Checking in here, it does look like Live and Learn is in the lead with about $69 there. So if you want to keep it in the lead, you gotta get those donations in.
Thank you. It's bots, man. They just... Oh... They want Link dead so bad. Okay, are we going to take this? Yeah, we're going to take this. All right, our levels are back to what we want them to be. Okay, that right there was the blue iron knuckle. And that was the little downstab trick that we do. So that is called the jackhammer. So whenever you cast, or whenever you use downstab, you jump in the air and then you hold the down button. That's how you use downstab. But when you're in midair, I'm just going to play this safe. When you're in midair, you can press down as many times as you want. And if you every time you press down, it registers as a hit as long as you're in the hitbox of an enemy. So for the... I'm getting pummeled by a puma here. Is with the blue iron knuckle, we can actually, because of the height of the hallway that you're in, we can actually downstab through the hitbox of the enemy. and then just mash the down button and deal a whole bunch of damage. I'm gonna take magic up.
So it's called the jackhammer. It's the coolest technique in the game, pretty much realistically. But it also is probably one of the harder techniques to do on your hands.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, mashing with anything on like the face buttons is pretty typical in speed runs, But mashing on the D-pad is a lot trickier. It's just not as common. It doesn't feel as simple. I don't know how to describe it. All right, so we want to make sure that we have enough experience at the end of this palace here. I'm gonna defeat that guy there.
So a lot of these jumps you're doing are actually like pretty like pixel perfect. It almost looks like it's like Link's max.
Uh-oh. I was trying to be cute here and
Is there saving this?
There you go.
Oh my.
It's fine. Everything's fine. Dark, don't worry about it. Oh, of course. He drops a pea bag.
Why didn't you take it?
I don't need it. You want me to go get it? I'm gonna go get it for you, Dark. Just for you. I'll get it. The reason why I killed that blue iron knuckle is because my drop was next, and if I wouldn't have got a pea bag, I would have been under magic on here. There we go.
So this is a pretty cool boss. It's a blue iron knuckle on a horse.
Okay.
And he's gone. So shout outs to blue iron knuckles on horses. May we never see them again.
Oh boy. All right.
Reminds me of my
We're
favorite
good.
Star Tropics boss.
Yeah, so the boss was going to give me, if I wouldn't have gotten the 150 experience from the blue iron knuckle, the boss would have not given me enough experience to put me over to the proper level so that I would get attack 7 here. So we went to defeat the blue iron knuckle. You put up a great fight, and then Rebanak, the boss, almost took another life from me, but hey, we pulled it off. That's all that matters. All right, so now that we're done with Palace 3, we're actually done with this whole continent, and we're going to use the raft that we picked up in the last palace to go to the eastern continent. Wait, and listen for
It's
it.
to the east.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. It plays the McDonald's jingle there when you go across there. Yeah.
Is that a McKids reference?
Yeah, MC Kids. Shout outs to MC Kids. Come on, Tektite. There you go. So these Tektites, and also the enemy in here called the Basilisk, which we'll see in a little bit. There it is. Here we are. You can't hit them with your sword. I mean, you can, but it won't do any damage to them. You actually have to use the fire spell to do damage to the basilisks and Tektites. We don't get the fire spell right away, though. We walked past the town where we could get it, and there's a reason for that. It ends up saving us time later, and we'll kind of talk about that. We'll put a pin in that for later. So we have to go to this cave, and we have to save this child down here. Once again, we're going to save it as the fairy, because the fairy, no animations, doesn't care about the items we pick up.
Link just had an intuition that there was a child that needed saving in this hole in the middle of a maze.
That's right. Yeah, you could hear it wailing from Palace 3. So this section over here, we're getting this life here also because it sets up kind of a walk that we want to do here. there's a lot of enemies that spawn between here and the next town, and we're going to try our best to avoid as many of them as we can. Okay. Of course, the ferry. Shoutouts to the ferry. There we go. We got it anyway. It's fine. All right, we just skipped a forced encounter tile. And we're going to try to skip up another one. Screens. Yeah, so there we go. So I was stabbing the screen there a couple times because we're setting up a frame count so that we would get a very specific overworld encounter. By stabbing the screen 4 times, it kind of sets us up to get a one of the encounters that chases after Link. And we need that because it makes getting the enemy encounter on the forced encounter tile a lot easier and basically free.
The Zero did the fairy strat there, which is the not as cool strat as that I found out is the jump strat.
Yes. Oops, got to stab her. It's mandatory. So that strat there is called Fairy Claws. What you're supposed to do, like casually, is you're supposed to cast jump, and you're supposed to walk on the roofs, and then go to the chimney and press down. But if you hold the down button while casting fairy, the game thinks that the fairy is crouching, and then when you touch the chimney, you go down the chimney. We call it Fairy Claws because Santa Claus, fairy, chimneys,
When you go to get spells, is there any requirements to unlocking the spells other than maybe sometimes there's like an item that you need for every single one normally, but is there anything else?
Right. So there's some magic spells that you need to have a certain number of other spells. Later on, the last spell that we can't get unless we have all of the other spells. There's also rooms that we have to go in and we have to have a certain number of magic jars and things like that. So we just picked up the Reflect spell, but before I talk about that, I'm going to talk about how we're going to set up another spawn here. So I'm going to read this sign, but not all of it, just Mo. And then I'm going to wait here. There we go. And then we're going to stab the screen a few times. Oh my gosh, those levers. Okay.
Did that mess up your frame count?
Apparently not. We're good. Oh, those levers. Those levers do 3 damage to you, 3 blocks of damage to you. They hit for a lot.
They hit for a lot in every Zelda game. So, I also noticed when enemies are coming for you, sometimes the game freezes. Is that intentionally happening?
Yeah. Yes. I'm pause buffering there to sort of so I have a pretty good idea of when I'm going to have a spawn show up, because it happens after a certain number of tiles. And when that's about to happen, I'll pause the game to sort of get a sense of where the enemies are going to be moving. And then that makes it a little bit easier to sort of slink around them. So we're heading to Palace 4, which is the Maze Island Palace, because we're on an island with a maze. It's not a very cleverly named palace. But we have a little ways to get there, and then we'll have a lot to talk about once we get in the palace. So I am going to pass it on to the host.
All right. Just want to shout out our Japanese restream again. Midwest Speedfest 2023 is being restreamed in Japanese by our friends over at Japanese Restream. You can find their channel at twitch.tv/Japanese_restream. We've worked with them several times now, and we are very grateful for all the work they do to bring marathons like ours to a larger audience. And their audience has just been so hype this whole time, so shout out to them.
All right, we just used upstab awesome. There. That's we gained upstab in the last town, and that's one of the few times we're actually going to use it. I am a big supporter of upstab. I think it's a really cool technique. Not many people agree with me. That's fine. People can have their opinions, but upstab is pretty awesome. But that's one of the only times you're really going to see it in the run. I might do it later. Stay tuned. So this is Palace 4. It's really scary. Not because there's a lot of ghosts in here and disappearing, reappearing wizards, but also because you have to conserve a lot of magic here, because we're going to be casting jump a lot, and in order to defeat the boss of this palace, you need to use the reflect spell, which costs 5 bars of magic at our current magic level. And we got a jar here. That's awesome. Something else that you can do to gain more magic, and we talked about this earlier when we had that unintentional death. We'll talk about it again now because it's relevant. Is you can take a forced death, and then it will respawn Link with full magic. We use that to our advantage in certain parts in this palace, so that we end up having enough magic to cast the spells that we need. We're defeating this Doom Knocker here because you need to defeat some enemies before you leave a screen, and you also need to make sure that this guy's mad. There we go. You also need to make sure that the experience points that come from the enemy scrolls up before you leave the screen. Because if you leave the screen after you defeat an enemy and the experience points don't roll up, it won't count that the enemy is defeated. And then when you come back, they'll be right in your face. And the Doom Knockers will immediately throw a mace right at Link's face, and then you'll be really sad. So you want to defeat the Doom Knocker before you leave the screen and make sure that it counts.
We also found a boot.
Yeah, we found a boot. It's just a regular boot. No, it's a special magic boot that allows us to walk on water. So we'll use that to get to Palace 5. I am going to not take a death abuse there because we still have magic.
Why do you cast jump in this room?
So it's scary if you don't. Those flames that are on top of those pillars are not there for decoration. They are. They actually have a hitbox on them, so like you will take damage if you touch those flames.
As background as they look.
Yes.
A pee bag.
We don't need it. Yeah, so it's really hard to jump over those without taking any damage, and then on top of it, there's enemies there too. So it just makes sense to cast jump. And most of the time, you're taking death abuses here anyway. On like a perfect run, you probably want to take like all of the death abuses there, and then you'll on every time that you are on a screen that has that lava. Because not only does it regenerate your magic, it also like teleports you back to the beginning of the room, so you don't have to like backtrack through it. So you kind of get a time save in 2 ways.
Yeah, those are long rooms.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we do need to cast jump coming up here to get a key. There is a cool way to break this block that we need to break. But it doesn't use upstab, so we're going to do the upstab way because upstab is great. There we go.
We're sad.
There's another Doom Knocker that we have to make sure is defeated before we leave.
You almost came knocking.
He likes to do that. We call these the Minecraft rooms because you got to go digging through blocks.
They really like these keys at the bottom of the areas in this one. Like whoever made this dungeon like found that idea for a key and was like, I'm rolling with this.
Yeah. Let's put them all under bricks. Make sure they really got that handy glove. All right, cast jump here, and then we will take a death abuse at the end of this.
Lava bath.
Yes. Okay.
And also, sorry I didn't get it out in time. It's very bright and flashy when we take an intentional death. So when we do talk about taking intentional death, just note that it will be photosensitivity at that point. So I apologize for not getting to you guys sooner on that.
Yes, this game loved to take advantage of the flashy effects in the NES days. There aren't as many in the NES version. The Famicom disc version has a lot more movement and just flashy nature to it.
So sometimes when you're going down elevators, I see that you stab the wall.
Mm-hmm.
What's with that?
What is up with that? I like the sound that it makes. No, you have it kind of pushes you a little bit further, and sometimes it actually impacts how enemies react to where you are, because the game thinks you're somewhere that you're not. This is Karok. This is the boss of Palace 4. This is a boss fight. To be fair, if you don't know that reflect is required, this seems like a really impossible boss because you can't damage Karok without using or reflecting his shots back at him. So if you get here without reflect, which totally never happens, no one's ever done that in a speedrun before, you kind of run out of ideas and don't really know what to do.
I feel like that boss is supposed to be programmed with more than one attack, and they never got to it.
It's possible, they just kind of like said, I'll get to this later. So we're walking on water now because we have that boot, that single boot. So maybe he's like hopping on one foot. I don't know. But we're also about to level up our attack once we get all these experience to attack level 8, which Dark might not believe me when I say this, is the maximum attack level.
There is another number.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
What's that one?
It's called 9.
Oh, attack 9, yes. Yes, the infamous attack 9. So attack 9 does not exist. It's a myth. We wish it existed, because that would be awesome. Can you imagine how strong Link would be if he had attack 9? He'd just take down everything in one go. But no, attack 8 is as high as it's going to let us go up to. If you try to level things up to attack 9 or even like magic level 9 or life level 9, the game will let you do it, but it won't level up that stat. It will just give you a 1-up. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, 1-ups are great, but you got to get a lot of experience to get to that 9 level. So I
One
don't.
gem.
Yeah. I guess you could just put a gem in. But
Just
yeah.
one gem.
So speaking of leveling up, this is Palace 5. The main objective in Palace 5 is to get a lot of experience points. We need to have to make sure that we get maximum experience. Oh, I need that key. We need to make sure we have a maximum experience points when we leave here. I'm just gonna dig. Nope, they're not gonna let me. I don't like these rooms.
Oh. No.
Yeah, we need to have as much experience as we can get at the end of here. And it honestly doesn't... you can get to the end of this palace and not have enough experience, even if you try to defeat as many things as you can. So what we want is we want to get a 200-point P-bag somewhere in here, if we can. And if the game lets us, or we can defeat one of the Magos, which are those orange magician wizard things that appear and and disappear. Hey, there's a 200-point P-bag. Thanks, game. Appreciate it.
Should still go for a fire mage.
We should try to, and depending on how things go, we might have to. But yeah, they're just really tough to defeat because even at attack level 8. You still have to hit them twice. And they only appear for a short period of time. And, yeah, then they're never where you want them to be. They're only ever in your way and hit you, and it's awful.
Is your Game Genie on again? Because you just walked through a wall.
Oh, did you see that? Oh, yeah, that's Shoot. No, yeah, that's a fake wall. Yeah, you just walk through it. It's totally normal. Yep. Yeah, you get a lot of hints about some of these weird, like, secrets from palaces, from different, like, NPCs and towns. But a lot of times they don't give you, like, a whole lot of information. You know, they'll say little things like, "Oh, there's a pit in Palace 6." Spoiler alert: there's a pit in Palace 6. But they don't really say like where it is or how to avoid it or how the heck they know that there's a pit in Palace 6. Like, did that NPC really like get into Palace 6 and like find it? I don't know. It'd be pretty impressive if they did. But yeah, the rest of this palace, I keep wanting to say dungeon. The rest of this palace is just fighting a lot of really tough enemies and trying to get more experience. So, and finding keys. That's important. So if we have any more announcements, now would be a great time for them.
Sure thing. We have a $10 donation from Bug Doctor. Says, "Let's go ZC."
Yo.
Shout out to Bug Doctor.
Shout out to Bug Doctor. Bug Doctor put on an awesome Star Tropics run for a different marathon earlier today. So shout outs to Bug Doctor and Star Tropics, one of the best games on the NES.
And we've also got some of our Final Fantasy X incentives going up here. We're at $121 out of 500 to hear the famous ha 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 cutscene tomorrow. So let's keep pushing for that. We don't want to miss that.
Please put money
best.
towards that. One of the best moments in... That's just it. One of the best moments.
Ever.
Not even video games, just... It is. All right. Nope. See, so that was a good opportunity for me to use upstab. Like that. See? Upstab comes in handy sometimes.
You could have also down stabbed it.
Ah, that's not real. That's not a move. I mean, how would one even do that? Hold your sword down? Can't imagine.
Too tough. Too difficult.
I would definitely need a knight to teach me how to do that. At the very least. So we're coming up to a room where upstab is super important.
True. The only time.
You know, see, they just don't want to... They don't want to die, those things. So right here. Hang on. You have to do that. You have to upstab to the music.
So will Zero get one wizard wizard kill,
Oh,
the
gosh.
Magos kill? Or will the
Prob-
Magos get 1 0 kill?
I know, that was a lot of fire. Ooh. There, thankfully, there's a lot of red jars hiding around here. So we're gonna grab one of them. We really need that... hang on. We really need that magic jar, too, because... Oh, well, now I don't have enough experience.
To the Blue Knight.
There we go. Now we're good.
And we're back to where we were. You used life, and he took the exact amount of life you healed away.
We were 6 experience points away from the right amount of experience points. All right, remember that thing I told you to write down? I told you to write down the name of that one enemy. It's called Gooma. This is also Gooma. They don't look very much the same. But this one's way harder. He hits for a lot. Like, even if you have shield on, which we do, if you take a hit from Gooma, it takes 2 blocks of life away, which is a lot. Which means you would take 4 away if you didn't have shield. Normally at this point in the game, if you're playing casually, you wouldn't have only life 4, so you wouldn't have to worry about it. But for the speed run, we don't want to get hit by Goomba. Oops. All right, we want to get out of here.
Hold up because of this?
No, we're good. Yep, we're fine. If you get the heart there before you get to about 6,000 experience points, you can totally get off the screen with the fairy. And the reason we want that to happen is because we want to level up in this town. And the reason for that is because the music for the level up sound is a little different in towns. And it takes a lot less time. And that is one of the reasons why we get fire late. Because we want to end up in this town when we have to level up 4 times in a row with all that experience points. You don't normally... There aren't really any other places where you can get to a town fast enough to get the level ups in towns. So it makes a lot of sense to take all of the level ups in a town when you have more than one. So, thank you. Shoutouts to Bloop. Bloop, bloop, bloop. We're getting the fire spell now. The fire spell is pretty nifty. It allows you to shoot fireballs out of your sword, which is pretty cool. So now we can defeat like armored enemies like Tektites and Basilisks. We're going to also set up another walk here and try to get a forced encounter tile skip. Read the sign. Well. Nah, we got a fairy spawn. So, all bets are off. But we're still going to try to get the skip here. We got another one.
Take it.
Fairies are jerks. Heyo, we still got the skip. Look at that. So
was that still technically saving time?
Probably, honestly, because these screens take a really long time. So there's 3 of these screens, and you want to skip 1 if you can. We call these screens the Wilson fence screens because Wilson from Home Improvement, the little Lizalfoses look like Wilson from Home Improvement behind the fence. So shoutouts to Wilson. Yeah, now we're making our way to one of the best spells in the game, which is the spell, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But we have a little ways before we get there, so if we have any more announcements, now is a great time to make them.
Sure thing. We have a donation of $10 from Anonymous that reads, "Zerocounts is my hero. Zero, we love you. Sending all the best from me and Big Chungus fan."
Oh, thank you, Anonymous. Thank you very much for that generous donation.
Which brings us up to
copy pasta.
$2,440 for Protest
Holy
Foundation,
moly. Let's get
which
some
is
hype.
awesome. Yeah, can we get some
Let's
hype
get
for
some
that?
hype going on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, this is New Kasuto town, hiding in these trees here, and what we're gonna learn here is one of the best spells in the whole game. We're gonna learn the spell.
How do you spell your spell that spells spell?
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Also, this town is really hard to find because what you don't know is that your hammer is not a blunt object; it's actually sharp, and it's actually an axe. And that's it.
Yeah, you can also chop down trees. Yep. You can do that to any set of trees. You can like deforest all of Hyrule if you really want to. Yeah, and this is just happens to be one of the tiles that if you do that, you find a town underneath. So, and you need to find it. Once again, there's NPCs that tell you these things very cryptically. Thankfully, we don't have to talk to them first. So we're going to cast the spell here. Hang on. Spell. It makes this door appear. It's a really big door. And all that's in here is a key. This is the magic key. The magic key allows us to open up all the doors. Who needs keys anymore? Well, we still do. We still need keys because it's the all keys category. So even though we have the magic key, we still have to get all the keys. So
Isn't the magic key all the keys, but all the keys aren't the magic key?
yeah, exactly. Wait, hang on.
So-
Shout outs to the flash mob. Hang on, here we go. Ready? Blah, 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 all the Alright, we're gonna get our last magic jar here.
So people are done with King Quagsire, and they're demanding Shaq.
Shaq, oh yeah. Yeah, get Shaq in the frame. Where's Shaq? Oh,
There we
there he
go.
is. Shaq, you wanna try?
Shout outs to Shaq Fu.
Alright, we just got our last magic jar. And we're also about to get our oh, ouch. We're also about to get our last heart as well. So we'll have full magic and full life. We're
I
gonna.
think Shaq knows that he's always at speedrunning events.
I hope so. I hope he's watching right now. I bet he is watching right now. So everybody say hi to Shaq in chat. Not just the cardboard one, but you know the real one. Ah,
Good try.
yeah. It was definitely a try. We're making our way to a little hidden tile here, where the last heart piece is. There we go. Now we have full life. And now we're heading to Palace 6. This is the last of the 6 palaces. Whoops, missed that one. The last of the 6 palaces where we have to place crystals. I realized I never really talked about the story and what we're doing. So now that we're like roughly an hour into the run, let's talk about the story. This is the same Link from the first game, but a couple of years later. And he finds a sleeping princess who's also named Zelda, who happens to not be the same Zelda from the first game. And actually, lore-wise, this Zelda in this game is the very first Zelda. And they actually explain in the book, or like the manual, that this is the reason why all of the princesses are named Zelda is because of this Princess Zelda in this game. So, I mean, there you go. This is the first one. She's been asleep. She's been asleep.
Not the first Zelda, but it's the second Zelda. But this is the first Link who saved the first Zelda, but is now saving the second Zelda. But it's only been a couple of years.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. No, she's been asleep for like really, really long time, an indescript amount of time. So yeah. But we have to place all these crystals to gain access to the Great Palace, where we will find the Triforce of Courage, which is required to wake Princess Zelda.
Well, at least there's no jousting horse knights. No, he's back.
This is yes, Rebanak refights.
Rebanak Jr.
Yeah, you know, he's a lot easier to fight when you have attack 8.
Well, at least there isn't gonna be another one. Like, we're finally done with him.
Yeah, he's done. He's definitely not coming back. All right, we're gonna do some weird screen wrapping things here because you know I got that Game Genie plugged in, right? All right.
Yeah, we never did a beam wrap. We just did that screen wrap, but never a beam wrap.
No, I never did any beam wraps. No, Palace 1 scares me too much. Yeah, you can like attack the sides of the screen, and the way that like the game is programmed, it like wraps it all the way to the other side. Like it notices it on the other side. And enemies do this too sometimes if they're on the edge of the screen. But we use that to our advantage there because that Iron Knuckle statue, that Iron Knuckle statue can contain a red jar. Hello.
You okay?
Look at all these wizards.
Yeah, I don't like these wizards, so let's moving on.
Shoutouts to the WizCon convention there. The WizardCon is in town.
So one thing that Zelda 2 does really funny is these pits that you can just sometimes fall down, and other times you die. So like you have to really play your guessing game. You're gonna roll your d20 to figure out if you die doing in a casual playthrough.
Oh. Okay. There you go. We want to defeat those things because jumping over the lava pits when they're alive is no bueno. So this is another one of those palaces where you need to really pay attention to your magic because you're required to cast Fairy here as well as before the boss. The only way to get access to the boss's chambers is by casting Fairy and flying through a little gap in the wall. And if you don't have enough magic when you get there, you're kind of out of luck. You have to go searching for drops or something, or lose a life or something like that.
Have we already passed Eco Key? I forget.
Yes, Eco Key is in Palace 5.
Oh, that's right.
Hey, what's this? Oh.
Oh, he's
Gone.
The
Don't worry,
third.
he's gone. There's Rebonak, and there goes Rebonak. He really is gone this time. Hashtag no fooling. Alright, here's where we need to cast Fairy one more time to get through here. And we get to fight everybody's favorite dragon.
And we're gonna do a great strategy on him.
Nah, we're gonna try to do a quick, safe kill here. Nope. There we go. I was a little far away. I got a downstab in there though. Did you see that?
Just one, not
one.
all of them.
It's like a faulty jackhammer, you know. There we go. All right, now we're gonna place the
upstab the key.
I did. You know, I love that upstab.
Boo.
And there we go. That's the last crystal. So now we have to go and get the last spell, and then we are going to go to the last palace. We're honing in on the end here.
The last spell wasn't spell?
No. Spell was. Although spell is a great spell, it is not the last of the spells. How many more times can I say spell?
At least one.
Spell. Sometimes that Moa will do damage to Link as he's going through the door, and you'll hear it during the little black loading screen. Alright, so this is the Thunder spell. It is most powerful magic. And we need it to defeat the penultimate boss in the next palace. The next boss is Thunderbird, and despite Thunderbird's name, their weakness is thunder. So thunder is it costs a lot of magic, but it does a whole lot of damage to all the enemies on the screen. So it's super helpful. And there are some rooms up here that we're going to be running into, where that seems like it would be really nice to just like get rid of everything on the screen at once. But we don't need to use thunder. We can do it without thunder. We have the technology. I'm going to do a forced encounter here. A stab. And then skip this tile. Okay. Alright, so now I'm going to show you the true power of the spell. So the spell can turn small enemies on the screen into bots. And then you don't have to worry about them. It's really helpful to get through these little areas, and there's a lot of them too. So this is the regular screen. These are forced encounter tiles, and we don't want to go through them because those are super difficult, and they take a really long time to get through. So instead, we take an encounter and then skip it like that. So we're going to do that a couple more times, gain some experience points, and then we'll be on our way to Great Palace. So this is the last opportunity we have for any announcements from the host before the end of the game.
All right. Well, we've definitely had some donations come in. Anonymous is given $10, saying, enjoying the Zelda 2 speedrun and having a blast watching games go fast. Putting my donation to the ha 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 cutscene. Let's make it happen. And we have another $10 from Aces10 that says, Zero Counts, are you awake?
I guess not.
Do we have time for one more?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we have $10 from the Zarek that says, Zero Counts is a man of immense talent, skill, and dedication. Don't even get me started on his Star Tropics and Zelda 2 runs. They're like works of art, each and every one of them. But here's the thing. Even though Zero Counts is a god among men, his speedruns don't always live up to how great he is. I mean, sure, he's got the skill and the talent and the dedication, but sometimes it just feels like he's not giving it his all. Like he's holding back, you know?
Oh, Zarek, thank you very much for that. All right, this is the Great Palace. It is named that because it is, I mean, look at its greatness. Stand in awe of its yellow walls. There are many very difficult enemies in this palace, and they're all kind of bird-themed. Those weird, like, fire-spitting enemies are called Fokerus. There are also bird knights that we'll see later called Fokas.
They're related to Samus, aren't they?
Yeah, are they?
I don't know. They look like it.
I
played Dread.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, so like, oh, now I get it. I get it. See, Aces was right to ask me if I was awake, because maybe not. Yeah, so we're gonna use a lot of different techniques to get past them. One of them is just
stab them.
Yeah, one of the best way to get through them is just walk through them and take damage. That's the best way to do it. But we can use shield. We can use fairy to fairy over things. If we get down to about this level of life, we probably would want to cast life. Although that's one we probably want to avoid if we can.
We just mentioned how good the song is.
Oh yeah, shoutouts to shoutouts to the whole Zelda 2 soundtrack. It's one of the best on the NES in my opinion.
Run, the red Faka is coming.
Here he is. And they will chase you. They'll chase you and they throw beams and like they will go all the way to the end of the room. Thankfully that one jumped over me like right away, so it wasn't too scary. I'm gonna cast shield one more time here. There we go. So there's a statue at the end of this hallway that we're gonna try and get a red jar to drop out of. So we never really talked about it, but these statues that contain red jars, some of them are free red jars. Not very many of them are though. There's a 50% chance. Wow, their game doesn't like me. There's a 50% chance that you can get a red jar out of them, which is really nice to get.
Let's get another.
Let's get another. Yeah, let's get another one. We should be okay.
Famous last words.
I know.
This blue Faka is just run. These are actually the scariest enemies in the game, and there's not very many of them. But when they want to be the major jerks, they are.
Thankfully, they can't jump as high as Link can with the jump spell, so we kind of jump and stab the bricks so that we can slide in there just high enough that they can't squeeze in. Alright, we're doing a quick life check there to make sure that I really have the amount of lives that I thought I did. So we're going to end up taking a death abuse right before the Thunderbird fight. Ooh. You going to do this to me? Alright. That's fine. Let's go. Alright.
He wanted you to use magic.
Yeah. He likes seeing that shield spell. He likes Link in the red tunic instead of the green. So yeah, we're gonna take a death abuse right before the boss because we want to have full magic because thunder costs a lot of magic, and not only that, but we want to cast shield and jump and reflect as well because Thunderbird does not mess around. Thunderbird shoots out fireballs and does like just a lot of damage with those fireballs. So you want to whoa, look at that guy, big old bot. First time you see that thing is really scary. Still gets me sometimes. So that was intentional. So now we have full magic. So we're going to just like completely like cast like all those things that I just listed for this next fight. And hopefully it goes smoothly.
Will we cast it? Yes.
Will it go smoothly? TBD.
So if you had attack 9, it instantly kills Thunderbird.
Yeah.
But you have to take the level up on the screen. It's really hard.
So you can only stab Thunderbird in the face. Which is why we
It's a
cast
cool looking
jump.
car.
There we go. Thunderbird is down. And this is our last key. All right, now we're on our way to the final boss. This is Dark Link. Link's gonna.
He is very tough.
Dark Link is gonna hop out of Link's shadow, and we're gonna try our best to take them down. But thankfully, we have a little bit of a cheese.
His only rival in how hard he is Karok.
Yes.
And so
Now that move right there, there's not much you can do about. And that's it.
GG.
There we go. That's time. All right. Yeah, so that's Zelda 2. We did it in 1 CC, so that's a win. We did it in under estimate, so hey, check the boxes. Yeah, I want to thank Midwest Speed Fest for having me. This is a great event. I've been having a great time this weekend. A lot of great runners, a lot of great runs, and thank the tech crew and everybody working behind the scenes to make this happen. Dark, thank you very much for doing commentary with me.
Thanks for having me.
And yeah, I'm zerocounts on Twitch. You can find me, hop in my Discord, and if you have any questions on the run or anything like that, there's an awesome Z2 community out there. They're all always willing to teach people how to run this game, and there's a whole bunch of categories too. So, Dark, you have any shout-outs you want to make?
Just shout outs to Midwest Speed Fest. Thanks for letting me come on and do remote commentary. It was easy peasy. Thanks for Zero for having me. Thanks for to all the communities out there that I'm in. You guys are all great. And let's see Star Tropics at some point.
Yeah, Star Tropics. Shout outs to Star Tropics, best NES game. All right, that's all I got. Thank you very much.
Let's make some more noise for Zero Counts, everybody. Yeah, that was an awesome run. Coming up next, we have some Project Plus action, which is going to be followed up by some Sonic Frontiers. So don't go anywhere. Just a reminder, you're watching Midwest Speed Fest 2023, a charity speedrun marathon live from VGMCon 2023, all Zelda, in Plymouth, Minnesota. We're live all 3 days of this convention, showcasing amazing speedruns and raising funds for Protest Foundation, whose current project is prosthetics for Ukrainians. To donate, go to donate.midwestspeedfest.com or type !donate in chat and follow the link.